also would have a question.
If James is going to make it.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, that's it.
Late, but not this night.
October 16, 2023, the City Council of Winston-Salem called to order. Good evening. I am Denise D. Adams, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Winston-Salem, and it is my honor to call this meeting on October 16, 2023, meeting of the City Council to order. I would ask that the City Clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson.
Present.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Mundy.
Present.
Councilmember Scipio.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Here.
And Councilmember Burke.
Here. We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Thank you. And will you please now join the City Council in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We want to recognize our Sergeant at Arms tonight, Lieutenant Jeffrey Thompson. Thank you for being with us. Tonight's agenda of the City Council is comprised of two parts, the general agenda and the consent agenda. It is the practice of the council to take the consent agenda as the first order of business. Items on the consent agenda have been unanimously recommended by a committee of the City Council or are submitted in accordance with established procedure. There will be no discussion of the items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered individually. Items not removed from the consent agenda will be enacted with one motion. This meeting is being televised live tonight on TV 13. It will be replayed tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. and again tomorrow night at 9 o'clock p.m. Copies of the agenda as well as videos of previous meetings are always available online on the city's website. Just click on the Watch Meetings online option. Are there any items, Council, that you would like to pull from the consent agenda? Councilmember Mundy.
C5, please.
And also I would like to pull C30. Councilmember Burke.
C35.
Councilmember Larson.
C15.
If that's all right, could I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the balance.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded to accept the balance of the consent agenda. And will you please vote? Thank you. The motion passes. City Clerk, would you please call the item?
Item C5, resolution awarding construction contract for Joycelyn V. Johnson Municipal Service Center roof replacement to Reich Roofing Service, Inc. of Charlotte, North Carolina. Total cost $4,201,000.
Mr. Redfield.
Thank you. Darren Redfield, Purchasing Director. Mayor Pro Tem, question?
Yes, the question is, well, the statement that several of us got an email today suggesting, because of the nature of this roof, that it would be an ideal location for solar panels. And I want to know if indeed you evaluated that option and what are the pros and cons. Is this something we could do, or is it something we'd have to investigate further?
Wow.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mayor Pro
Rao.
Tem Adams, members of the City Council. Councilmember Mundy, I have asked the Property and Facilities Management staff, who will be the managing department, to look into that, to check that, if that was part of the design, if it would have the ability to hold a solar arrays.
But we don't know that yet.
We don't know that
Okay,
yet.
but it is under investigation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Is that it, Mr. Councilmember Mundy?
That's all.
Okay, could I have a,
Move to approve C5.
Second.
it has been moved and seconded. Item C5, would you please vote? All those in favor? And vote nay if you oppose. And the motion passes unanimously. Next item, please, C30.
Item C15, resolution awarding purchase order for 2 one-ton pickup trucks to Modern Chevrolet for $139,636.
I apologize, C15. Mr. Royston,
See, yeah, I was looking for C-15 21 Dodge trucks. C-15 was what I was asking.
C15.
It's 2 pickups.
I'm thinking these are the 2 vans for Parks and Recs. Mr. Tony, was that right, what we discussed today?
Change, is it change?
Okay.
Bit of change.
Says 1 ton, 2 one-ton pickups.
You wanted C-23.
It says C-15 on mine. Well, anyway, C-23 then.
He wants C-23.
Correction, City Clerk.
Motion to approve C-15.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we accept item C-15. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. C-20. And the motion passes.
So you'd like to reconsider
C-23.
Them 23. It's different on mine.
Okay. Item C23, resolution awarding purchase orders for 21 Dodge Durango Pursuit vehicles to Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, total cost $866,227.
I have down here Chief Penn or either Chief Mayo, and I think I saw Chief Mayo leave. But Mr. Redfield, if you're ready to,
I'll do my best.
thank you. Question.
Yes, you may be able to answer this one, which really applies to several vehicles anyway, is that we're approving a bunch of vehicles tonight, this being one of the primary ones that we approved a similar order a year ago, which included some Dodge Durango Pursuit vehicles. None of them were hybrids or EVs. And I'm wondering, when are we going to start looking at hybrids and EVs? And the 4 or 5 that we bought last year, have they been delivered? And then what are the results of those vehicles?
Yeah. I'm really not sure. I know a lot of the police pursuit aren't available this year. I think Chevy's putting out one, a 2024, but we've looked into that, the smaller size. Someone spoke to that before. The SUVs, small ones, we might be able to get long lead time.
This Durango, Dodge Durango is
Correct.
what we bought last year, wasn't it?
I believe so. I believe so, right,
And they
because
make a
the Ford
hybrid.
Interceptor
They make
is
a
going out.
hybrid. They make a hybrid model. Is anybody looking into this? Can somebody tell me?
No?
Assistant Chief Weaver.
All right, now we get somebody who knows what's going on.
Sir, I'll speak on this best I know of it. I don't believe we purchased Dodge Durangos before. My understanding is that we were looking at a combination of Chargers and Interceptors, Ford Interceptors. So I'm not sure that we've actually reached into Dodge Durangos, but we are in such a deficit of vehicles. These vehicles became available, and we were trying to look at purchasing those vehicles to replace some of the vehicles that we're losing due to wrecks.
Chief, do you know whether the 4 or 5 hybrids that we ordered last year, have they been delivered?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Okay, so we don't even know how they perform yet.
No, sir.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you. Councilmember McIntosh.
I kind of stay abreast of the car market, and the Chevrolet electric pursuit vehicle is what everybody wants. They're not shipping yet. They won't be shipping until 2024. That's kind of the model that everybody's focused in on. They're just not available yet.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Any more comments or questions? Not, may I have a motion to approve?
It's already approved.
Oh,
That's right, it was approved.
under the consent,
Now, I think C-35.
C-30.
C-30 is next. Mr. Fazler.
Item C30, resolution authorizing the implementation of a revised code of conduct and ban policy for the Clark Campbell Transportation Center, Hampton Hayes Administrative and Maintenance Facility, and public transportation vehicles.
Thank you. I pulled this one because I think the community needs to at least hear something about this item on the consent agenda. It was discussed in the update this morning at 9 o'clock.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of the City Council. Just the item before you is the adoption of our Code of Conduct and Ban Policy. So Public Works, we rolled this out as an item for consideration, basically to address a few of the incidents that are taking place at the transit center facility. We've had a series of conduct issues and folks that are abusing our current ban policy. We wanted to consolidate some of our policies into one document that would allow for better enforcement and allow for us to really address some of these issues that are affecting not only the operations of the facility, but also some of the staff and some of the turnover issues that are going on there, as well as some significant facility impacts based on some of the events that are taking place there. So this item really consolidates that. There are a few things that allows us to better enforce and to work towards a more streamlined approach toward our conduct issues going on there. Of course, as you all know, we do partner with North State to do our enforcement and security at the facility, and this would expand and be enforced and regulated by their officers that are at the facility. And really, moving forward, as we roll this out, we'll be doing a few things to help roll this out, so to speak, and that'll include posting it on the buses. That'll include a lot of education in the actual facility, as well as working with our marketing department, both internal and with our marketing team at the Transit Authority, to roll this out. So we'll be in communication with those efforts across the board as we roll this out. It will be over time as we get this moving and how we enforce that, and making sure we're communicating with North State to have the proper protocol in place to enforce this moving forward. So, Mayor Pro Tem, if that answers your questions, I'm happy to entertain anything further.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councilman McIntosh?
Yeah, I just want to repeat what I said at the committee meeting. Conditions at the transit center are not really up to our standards. I mean, we would not let some of the conditions exist here at City Hall that we allow to exist there, both for the passenger safety and the staff safety. It's time that we just spend some money and improve the safety situation there. I think everybody comes out ahead, and I'm glad we're doing this. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Monday?
Just want to point out something that was pointed out in committee for those folks who were afraid this would exclude people who are experiencing homelessness from accessing our public facilities or restrooms and maybe getting in out from the cold or the heat. These folks can still come in and use the building. They can still use the restroom, but they would still have to abide by these rules of conduct.
That is correct.
Any other comments? Councilmember Scipio?
Mr. Fansler, could you just go over the most significant change on the Code of Conduct so people will have that understanding if they have not already seen a copy of it?
I can. So, Councilmember Scipio, the notable changes that was in your packet, I'll go over just a couple of those real briefly. Really, I mentioned this is to consolidate the existing Code of Conduct ban policy and the appeals process. One document, how we administer those policies. Another issue we've been having is folks that are blocking the door, so we have some egress and ingress issues there. So this will address and how we want to enforce where folks are actually in the space and not blocking those entry doors. A lot of other things too regarding our metal detectors, which is another piece of this puzzle, as we will be procuring and installing those in the coming months. And there's some language in there about how to operate and where those are going. Some of the things, we've had some issues with tampering. You heard me talk about some of the abuse of the bathroom facilities, addressing some of those facility type expectations as well. One of the main things I wanted to mention, and really the most significant change, and we talked about, Councilmember Mundy, that dwell time. You can still come in and use the space, but this policy does implement that 90-minute dwell time, which basically allows us to identify who has the purpose in the building. So if you can produce some type of identifying ticket and you're going to be using one of the providers in the space, in the facility, then you, of course, have the right to be there. If you can't produce that, then that 90-minute threshold is where we're going to capture a lot of those violators. Those are some of the key takeaways. I'm happy to take any further questions if that doesn't quite get it.
Any other questions, comments? Could I have a motion, please, for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember McIntosh, Councilmember Clark. And the vote? And the vote is unanimous. Next item and last consent, item C35.
Item C35, resolution to establish the need for the creation of a housing trust fund to address the affordable housing needs in the city of Winston-Salem.
Ms. Tony and Councilmember Burke.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I asked for this item to be pulled because, as everyone knows, affordable housing is a top priority for this council, and we have discussed this in committee, but I think that this is so important that we need to make sure that everyone in the community has an opportunity to hear this presentation and be informed. So, Ms. Tony, thank you.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. This item before you establishes a need to create a housing trust fund. A housing trust fund is a dedicated and restricted fund for the purposes of affordable housing. Right now, the city staff has not flushed out all of the details, but this would determine the need to create one. The mayor has talked to a few community potential partners that are interested in seeding the fund initially. We would need to create real structure around how the fund is managed, administered, how decisions are made for affordable housing, for gap financing, for rehab. There's a host of criteria that this council would need to decide on at a future committee of the whole and future meetings to discuss how the funds would be dispersed. So this resolution just establishes the need and then directs staff to do additional research to come back and provide recommendations and options to go forward.
Thank you, Ms. Tony. Councilmember Burke.
Yes. Excuse me, Ms. Tony, can you explain the three options for administering the funds from this housing trust fund?
There are numerous options. We looked at some of the surrounding cities. We looked at Asheville. Charlotte has two opportunities. One is a private trust. The other is run by the city government itself. The city of Greensboro, Wake County, and Asheville. Asheville handles theirs in-house. And some of the other cities and a few counties have an external entity that is run by self-help. City of Charlotte's private fund is run by LISC. It's a nonprofit. These third-party entities leverage additional dollars to add to the fund. The City of Charlotte uses housing bonds to have an ongoing revenue source for their trust fund. So there are options that the trust fund could be managed internally, and there are options where the trust fund could be managed externally. So there is a range from it being an internal fund, kind of like our Housing Finance Assistance Fund, where we manage it. The council makes all the decisions, all the way to a legal trust fund. And there's everything in between in terms of options on how we would like to set it up and administer it.
So there are numerous ways that these funds can be managed, and we have clearly stated that these funds, there is a possibility that these funds could be managed by an outside board or entity. Okay. As I said, this is a trust fund that I believe everybody on this council supports. We are united in knowing that we need affordable housing and we need this trust fund. But today, I am not going to vote yes on moving forward for more research for the following reasons. I think that we need to flesh out all of the details for how this fund will be managed. And I think that just knowing that we already have community partners who are interested in seeding this fund, we want to make sure that we still are able to represent our constituents as a council for how to manage this money. So I think that we need to work out all the details. Who will be involved in establishing the guidelines, the restrictions, and what other governmental entities will be involved, if any. I think that going forward, doing research is fine, but we need to go with a specific intentional focus on what it is we're researching and what it is we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McIntosh.
One of the eye-opening things that I witnessed, and several of us did when we went to meet with other cities and some of these providers, is how much further ahead they were than us in dealing with a lot of things that our council was going to want to have input on. So it was pretty clear that we are not unique in the way that we need to get feedback from our constituents, in the way that there's a political aspect to this as well. Not everybody was able to do that. I think what we're saying is let's take that next step so that the providers that we think might work can come in and tell us what they can do, tell us what they have done, and show us how we can better spend our money, how we can produce more housing. So I don't think anyone will be disappointed in the amount of input there is, but it's a level of expertise and staffing that we do not have in-house, and I think will pay us great dividends over time. And I personally think it will allay everybody's fears in terms of how much input there is from the community.
Any other comments? Councilmember Clark?
Yeah. We discussed this forever at the committee level, and I'll make the same comment I made there. All this resolution does is tells Ms. Tony to go research it, which is what Ms. Burke's actually asking to do. Let's go research it. I'm not even sure why we need a motion on it, but we got one here. But there are a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross on this, and a lot of detailed research that needs to be done. And I just want to be sure everybody understands we're not committing any particular road to go down. We're simply asking staff to come back with a lot more detail and a lot more specificity, or however you pronounce that word.
You got it close.
Anyway, to get this, so don't panic. And I think we're talking, Ms. Tony, at least several months to do all this, I would think. This is a fairly comprehensive look you've got to do. But anyway, it's not controversial, contrary to the number of people I see in the room tonight. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Burke.
The last comment. This is so important. I just want to make sure we get it right. When we look at the landscape of our community as far as housing, we did not get it right, and we are still suffering from the remnants of redlining and the impact that it continues to have on many communities. And I just want to make sure we take every step possible, we dot every I, cross every T, and make sure that we flush out all the details so that we provide the best opportunities for affordable housing for our citizens throughout this community. Thank you.
Thank you. As Councilmember Clark said, a month or so ago, maybe a couple of months ago, this council voted to prioritize our work because staff deserves that. The employees deserve that. Instead of 9 people giving ideas to staff every day as to what we want done, when we want it done, we have to prioritize. This is a business. So therefore, we agreed and we voted on it. Is that not correct, City Attorney? That we will prioritize to staff the tasks that we want them to go work on so that all of them, as well as us, understand what the task at hand is. And this is one of those tasks. And as Ms. Tony said, this is not like tomorrow, next month, month after. The other cities, it takes months to bring all the information. Then we got to vet it to the community to get your input through meetings and marketing and whatever. So we're trying to make sure that we do this right because, again, the city's priority is affordable housing and housing. May I have a motion, please?
Approval.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded, and you may vote yes when the vote comes up or no. We have 7 yes and 1 no, and the motion carries. Thank you. That is the end of the consent agenda. We are now moving to the general agenda items, but first I want to let everybody know the mayor is out of town, and that's why he's not here tonight. The council will now consider the general agenda, which is comprised of the following. We have an annual report from the Downtown Winston-Salem Partnership, consideration of items related to funding to Habitat for Humanity of Forsyth County, Incorporated for the Housing in the Happy Hills neighborhood, appointments and reappointments for various boards and commissions, and the public comment period. The public comment period is time set aside for citizens to voice their opinions on matters general and germane to city government. When the comment period is called, each speaker will be given 3 minutes, and the comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. City Clerk, can we have the first item, please, on the general agenda?
Item G1, fiscal year 2022-2023 annual report of the Downtown Winston-Salem Business Improvement District.
Mr. Thiel.
Hi.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, members of the City Council. Each year...
Name and address.
Yes, thank you. You know, I should know that by now. Jason Thiel, 515 North Cherry Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27101. I'll be brief because I know that you guys do have a lot to talk about. But back in 2014, you approved this Business Improvement District, which services the map on the screen, which should be above you. This is the core of downtown, and since we have a lot of people watching on TV, the things that I'm going to discuss are supplemental services above and beyond the city line baseline of services that we pay with a supplemental tax. These funds do not come from the general fund. They come from a separate levy just on the properties within the very core of downtown. And I know this map probably doesn't play real well on the TV screen or to the members of the audience, but the main axis is from Broad Street on the west to not the Innovation Quarter, the area of downtown excluding the Innovation Quarter, north to Martin Luther King between really Spruce Street and Chestnut Street. So those are the main boundaries generally stated, the very core of downtown. What we use the funds for, and is probably not the most interesting things to most people, it's picking up extra trash since we have a lot of pedestrians and visitors. We do a lot of power washing, graffiti removal, and we're also proud of many of our marketing services, and I included those in the annual report. While this is a perfunctory presentation that was required by state law, maybe in the interest of that and time, I'll just leave it at that we're proud of the services that we've provided. We have regular meetings with the stakeholders downtown to get their feedback. We're going to be having our annual meeting on October 31st. That's a meeting at the Benton Convention Center at 8 a.m. and it's free to the public. No RSVP is required, and we'll be going into greater details about topics that are important to downtown. And if I may, maybe I'll just leave it there.
Thank you, Mr. Thiel. Any comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Next item, please.
Item G2, motion to excuse Councilmember Burke from item G3.
Council members, may I have a motion to excuse Councilmember Burke from voting on this item?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Mundy, would you please vote? And the motion carries 7 and 1 abstention. Ms. Tony, or who's doing this?
Item G3, consideration of items related to funding to Habitat for Humanity of Forsyth County, Inc. for development of 13 single-family homes in the Happy Hill neighborhood located in the East Ward, including a resolution authorizing funding to Habitat for Humanity of Forsyth County for development for the 13 single-family homes in the Happy Hill neighborhood for $2,158,000 of state ARPA funds, and an ordinance amending the project budget ordinance of the City of Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening again. This item shows where Habitat for Humanity has been selected by the Housing Authority of Winston-Salem and authorized by HUD to develop 13 single-family homes in the Happy Hill neighborhood. The land that Housing Authority owned was conveyed to Habitat for Humanity. This item funds the building of those 13 homes in the amount of $2,158,000 using state ARPA dollars that we've received from the state for the purpose of building affordable single-family homes.
Any questions or comments? All right then. Could I have a motion, please?
I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Scipio, Councilmember Larson, and we will vote. We have 5 yeses and 2 noes and no abstentions. Councilmember Burke, yes. And the motion passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item G4, Mayor joins recommendations for appointments to the Public Assembly Facilities Commission. Roderick Carter, term expiring August 2024, and Catherine Hall, term expiring August 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second, do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember McIntosh, Councilmember Clark, and you may vote. Technology is slow. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Item G5, Mayor joins recommendation for appointment to the Commission on Ending Homelessness. Tashandra Wisely, term expiring October 2026.
May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Councilmember Scipio, Councilmember Clark, and be prepared to vote. And the motion passes. Next item, please.
Item G6, Mayor joins recommendation for appointments and reappointments to the Bicycle Pedestrian Active Mobility Advisory Committee. Zach Lale, term expiring August 2025. Latricia Caesar, term expiring August 2026. Gregory Arrett, term expiring August 2026. Donna Jones, term expiring August 2026. And Amy Easter, term expiring August 2026.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember McIntosh, Councilmember Taylor, please vote the following. And the motion passes unanimously. Before we begin the public comment period.
One more.
I'm ready to get this. G6, please. I'm like the mayor was.
Item G7, Mayor joins recommendations for appointments and reappointments to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Amy Flight, term expiring September 2026. George Sandridge, term expiring October 2026. And Edgar Forrest, term expiring October 2026.
So move.
Second.
I have Councilmember Scipio, Councilmember McIntosh, and vote accordingly. And the motion passes unanimously. Again, I'm going to apologize. This is my first time in the big chair. And all of you are here. I thought the first time I'd do it, maybe there might be 10 people here. Anyway, I'm going to take a point of privilege and recognize Councilmember Scipio before we go into the public comment from a motion that we just finished for her to make some comments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to recognize a couple of people who I believe we always need to recognize people when they do wonderful things for our city. I do want to recognize Senator Paul Lowe, who made sure that our city got some ARPA money for housing, and we are trying to spend that according to our directive. I also would like to recognize and thank the Housing Authority and Habitat for Humanity for creating a partnership that will allow us to have beautiful homes in Happy Hill which was our very first African-American neighborhood of homeowners. I thank them very much for the vision, and I thank the Housing Authority current leadership who took time to work with HUD to see how we could get those restrictions removed. And I thank my council members for voting for this investment. It's a long overdue investment in a wonderful community. These are not going to be matchbox houses, they're going to be beautiful homes. And I thank my council members for having and joining that vision with me and the rest of the residents of Happy Hill. It will be the premier neighborhood in the city of Winston-Salem in many years to come. You're going to see lovely activity there. So residents, those who want to live in Happy Hill and need housing, I would recommend that you start preparing yourselves, particularly those who haven't been homeowners. We're looking for you. We want you to come and live in the most beautiful neighborhood in this city. It's going to be lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move into the public comment. Geraldine Travick. And I'm like the mayor, I may mess up on a lot of names, so just correct me when you get to the podium. I will. Thank you. If you could state your name and address, please.
Mayor Tempore Adams, Winston-Salem City Council members, my fellow constituents. I am Geraldine Travick. I reside on Airport Road, Winston-Salem Northwood Estates. My neighbors and I really should not be present in this room tonight at this meeting for the reasons that we are here. We are present because we were not given a seat at the table or invited into the room of discussions planned for the repairing of the soil erosion with the Brushy Fork Creek, which has caused in our neighborhood some soil erosion. It has impacted our backyards for some neighbors. And when we were asked who's responsible and at what cost, we've heard the same old song. I don't know. I don't know. That song is old. So this is exactly why we've come to you. Someone in this room knows. They know. And we would like to hear answers, please. This is a serious matter within our neighborhood, soil erosion. And this neighborhood situation is leaning towards an environmental injustice. Yes, we had to come to this room and be present in these chambers to voice how the negative effects of Brushy Fork Creek has damaged backyards at such extreme costs, because it seems no one in local government has taken the responsibility to speak to us. We are taxpayers. We are residents of Winston-Salem. We want to know how the creek will be fixed and who's to blame for the soil erosion. That's all we want to know. Who's to blame? How will it be fixed? Simple. But nobody knows the answers. We weren't invited into the room. We weren't seated at the table. There are certainly others in Northwood Estates who sense and see the bleed of Brushy Fork Creek in their front yards or their backyards. So let's get it right. When you say fix Brushy Fork Creek, let's just get it right. Cheap becomes expensive. Cheap becomes expensive most of the time. This evening, we, the Northwood Estates Neighborhood Association, appealed to the City Council for us to be brought into the room, to the appropriate table, and to be informed of the following: who is responsible for Brushy Fork Creeks?
Thank you, Ms. Travick. Your time is up.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you very much, but we want answers to the repair of Rush Fork Creek. And
Thank you.
And more questions.
Jackie Johnson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Jackie Johnson, and I reside on Barkwood Drive. I've lived there for over 50 years, and over the years, I have had major problems with erosion, flooding, turkeys, deers, and elevated levels of bacteria, all coming from Russia Creek and the airport properties. I have spent thousands of dollars out of my pocket trying to maintain what little backyard I have left. Once upon a time, I had a garden in my backyard, which no longer exists now because of the erosion. I am here today to ask for answers as to when will our community receive justice. Justice being fixing and restoring the creek. The airport was awarded 50% tax break, but the residents of Northwood Estate aren't getting any type of breaks. Meanwhile, our community is being subjected to noise and aircraft exhaust that is impacted by the expansion. Where is the tax break for our community, and when will we see results of any type of work being done on Brushy Creek? Thank you.
Thank you. Derek Leyland?
Skyline, sounds like Skyline.
Lyland. Got
Skyline,
it.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your
My name
name
is
and
Dave
address.
Kleiline, and I live at 2450 Crossvine Lane in the Southwest Ward. And I'm here today to just explain something that we need to have looked at, I believe, concerning the road. We've been trying to have the city take over our road for 2.5 years now, and we've gotten through the process, started over again twice now. Now I understand that there wasn't any real procedure involved in getting this done to begin with. And there is a procedural meeting that's going to be done this Thursday. I'm here representing Greens Quarters HOA, and I'm asking that consider our road as one of the first roads when this procedure is done to get done, because we've been waiting for quite a while for this. I understand the city doesn't have to do this, but we were told in a mailing 2.5 years ago that we were the only road in the Hillcrest Center Town Hall community that was available for immediate turnover. We've been doing our best, and just let us know what's going to happen, and I'll be here Thursday night. I know we can't speak at that meeting, but I'll be here to see what's going on, okay? Thank you very much.
Kenneth Nesbitt?
Good afternoon, Council. Kenneth Nesbitt, 3642 Barkwood Drive. I'm one of the recipients of the Brushy Creek runoff, and in 2015 and 16, there were 250 acres of trees, foliage, and all removed for the development of expansion on the airport and what other runway and other things. Since that time, our land is being washed away. I mean, there are craters of land being washed away. Well, every time the airport authority addressed that situation, they cut more trees down. Well, once you cut more trees and foliage, all you do is make the problem worse. So the problem has gotten worse and worse. It's taking land, and not only is the land, but it has allowed all types of deer and all these things to come through and just trample through people's yard. I mean, it's every day. Turkeys, all kinds of animals, because there is nothing stopping them. Where they had a place to be, there's no place for them to be. They've taken that away. On Saturday morning, I think the sheriff department, so many deer, the sheriff department, I'm quite sure you're familiar, they have a sniper that killed the deer because there's so many of them. And so we just want some resolve in this issue. I mean, this has been going on for years, and the more trees you take down, the worse the problem gets. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. And we've had different engineers from different organizations to come out, and we've heard where when they put out the amount of money, well, then the city say that's the county's fault. And then the county say, well, that's the city. And now supposedly they're working together. But when are we going to get the problem resolved? Soon, so we'll have a place to stay. And that is my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Nesbitt.
Thank you.
Christopher Taylor.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Christopher Taylor, 2451 Delabrook Road. I'm here to specifically address the Inflation Reduction Act, but I think it's fitting that I was called next after these people spoke about their concerns. See, I work with the Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods, and with that, we have done a lot of work with Piedmont Environmental Alliance, with the Yadkin River Keeper, with Northwood Estates, with Dreamland Park, with so many communities. And what we found is many of the issues that we're seeing in the Black community, there are actually environmental issues. Many of the things that we're seeing that are injustices are environmental injustices. That's how they show themselves. And so with the Inflation Reduction Act, I'm pretty sure there'll be other people who speak. But three things that I want to highlight that they mentioned in some of their literature. One of the goals is reducing pollution in environmental justice communities, check. Ensuring the clean energy transition lifts up communities previously left behind while creating millions of family-supporting jobs. So we know many of our communities were left behind, redlining left a lot of people out. I got community members who, their husbands could have got their homes fixed 10 to 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Redlining made that an issue. Husbands died. You got widows who live by themselves. They receive Social Security, but they can't afford the weatherization programs that we currently have. They don't qualify, so their homes are still left unweatherized. Also, money to help convert households to run fully on electricity backed by clean, renewable energy. Many of the renters and the homeowners in our communities, we got issues with the bills. And so, of course, it's been mentioned before, and it's going to be mentioned again. This will help with the economy, because the less we're paying for bills, power bills, water bills, et cetera, the more we can invest in the community. The last thing I'll say, I was blessed to hear a presentation for Chief Mayo recently, who told us a lot about the fire department, what they do and what they're seeing. Biggest issues. The biggest thing that stood out to me was the burn rate of new homes versus old homes. A lot of this is based on the material that's used, but many of these older homes in our historic neighborhoods have a better probability of surviving fires than newer homes do. So we get these older homes in these communities, the proper type of electrical backing, et cetera, they'll be able to better maintain themselves in something like a fire than currently new base homes. That's not going against new homes, though. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Jay Pierce.
I don't know how to do this.
Name and address.
All right, my name is Jay Pierce, and I'm at 2110 Freeman Street on the south side. And I just want to say thank you for working on problems at the bus station, and thank you for increasing the funding for the BEARS, the Behavioral Response Unit. I think that's really important. But I also want to reiterate that there's a lot of things going on downtown. There's a lot of things in the news, violent acts, guns being fired, sexual assaults. As a stakeholder downtown operating a business, I feel that there can be more things done to provide a safe environment for people to enjoy businesses in downtown Winston-Salem. I recently went to a meeting with the chief of police, and I understand that they're understaffed and they are trying to get officers to volunteer for extra duty riding bicycles to patrol the downtown area, and that's a work in progress. But just seeing law enforcement on the street, makes people feel better. And so there's lots of things in the news. There are things not in the news about shootings or disputes or, fist fighting and general melee in a business on 4th Street. I think that everybody in this room and everybody in this community has done a lot to rejuvenate this city from the time when the city was the downtown area was barren, and we don't want to see that return. So I just wanted to come up here and say my piece, because I think we all have a stake in a safer downtown and more businesses. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Tanya Sheffield.
Good evening, everyone. Tanya Sheffield, 110 East Monmouth Street. Good evening, council members. You guys got an email from me earlier this afternoon. Mississippi and the Housing Authority, along with Habitat for Humanity, they know where Happy Hill stands. I am the interim president of the Happy Hill Neighborhood Association. And we have been talking with Kevin Cheshire since last year about building in Happy Hill. Habitat Housing isn't going to build houses for current or former residents who want to buy homes in Happy Hill. They're not. They already have their list. They said that. You know this. Whoever came up with the idea about Habitat being the developer, it's a great idea. But you should have brought us to the table. That's what we asked for last year. Bring us to the table for the conversation. But you brought us to the table to tell us what you're going to do. That's not a conversation. Everybody that's come up here have talked to you about issues, about people and communities. When are you guys going to do something about the people? Homelessness, that's on you guys. Lack of housing, that's on you guys. And I don't think no, I know you understand how to solve the problem, because if I can figure out some ideas, I'm not a rocket scientist, I'm not even a politician, but I know that there is a way to get people off the streets and to build affordable housing. You got the money. You come up with creative ideas when you want to give money to other corporations. How is it that you guys aren't getting that creative with us? I don't get it. If Habitat can't build houses for current or former residents, then Habitat don't need to be the developer, plain and simple. Find someone who can. Or you require them to allow Happy Hill residents to buy these homes. You get them in the training. That's you doing your due diligence to make sure that the people of the oldest community, you always want to talk about the history of this place and what it means, then do something about it. Building those houses is not going to save the people who want houses over there. It's great that you want them to build nice houses for the people, but if current and former residents can't buy the homes, what's the point? The people that you're planning to move in there, are they going to look like the current or former residents? Are you trying to change the way that it looks? Happy Hill is just as important to this city as Old Salem. Preserve it for the people who helped build this city. It's your responsibility. You can do it. Thank you.
Ms. Sheffield. Joanne Allen.
Good evening. Joanne Allen, P.O. Box 284, 27102. Oh my goodness. All I can say is that nothing has changed. The closer we get to an election, the more we hear about, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Listen, let's simplify this for everybody here and everybody that's out there. Okay, let's simplify this. Doggone it, you all were elected to represent the people. And you all have chosen to represent other interests before the people. I don't know the majority of these individuals tonight, but you all hear this over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And you all do absolutely whatever it is that your agenda tells you you all need to do. I'm here to tell you there's going to be a change. Because all these individuals, they're tired. They are definitely tired of the same old rhetoric that you all have been giving them for the past 12 and so many years, okay? And the only way we can make change here in Winston-Salem is that we need to make sure that we sit every last one of you all down, including Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark has been on this, and it's nothing personal. He knows that. But you all have done absolutely nothing, and now everything is right here at you, and you're thinking, oh gosh, you know what, we got downtown looking good. Yeah, you do, at the expense of all the other melanated communities in Winston-Salem. There are no longer any historical melanated communities. But see, you all justify that by saying, oh, but look at the progress. Let me tell you all something. Progress is not buildings that you all keep helping to put up. We can take millions of dollars and give to developers, realtors, friends, business associates, but my goodness, we can't even put the people first. We were talking about Worcester. Someone mentioned the fact that, oh my goodness, there's been so many overdoses and deaths down at Worcester. We've got a company of employees that doesn't even have a pension. They've got a 501k. I'm talking about the people who work for Worcester. Oh, it's time for all of you all to go. It's nothing personal. It's just time for you all to take a step back and let's actually do something for the people once in a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Matthew Mize.
My name is Matthew Mayers. I live at 2844 Wesleyan Lane. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And in a slightly different vein, I'll thank you for passing the resolution to fund Habitat's project in Happy Hill. I know that it wasn't to the liking of everyone on the council, but I hope that those who didn't approve can find some comfort, at least in knowing that it will unlock further development in Happy Hill, and that by supporting Habitat, you're partnering with really one of the best affordable housing builders around. You know, back in 2007, 2008, a buddy of mine, Don, and I had this great idea. We'd approach the leadership of Habitat Forsyth. None of the folks who are there now, this was a while back. We thought, well, maybe they'll partner with us on doing a green build. So we went and talked to them. And they said, you know, they were a little skeptical. They said, yeah, raise $100,000 and we'll do it. At the time, it was only supposed to be $80,000 for a sponsorship of a Habitat house if you're a church or business. So we kind of gulped and left the room and got to work, and we did. We raised them $130,000 from businesses and churches and foundations and that sort of thing. And it was a great experience. You know, we also brought along for them a Green Building Council architect and structural engineer and so on, built a very energy efficient home, got to work alongside the family and get to know them. Even when my old dad was here, before he passed away, he got to go pound nails one afternoon, and then every time he came to visit, he wanted to go see that house he had built. So Habitat was pleased, but of course they weren't going to turn on a dime and suddenly change everything they did. I kind of faded away a little bit over the years, whoops. And fast forward 15 years, last week I had the privilege of talking with the current Habitat leadership, and they are now building some of the most energy efficient homes around, which means long-term affordability, which is really the name of the game. So as you consider your housing trust fund that Ms. Tony has spoken about eloquently a number of times, I hope that you'll look to Habitat as a model. You know, they have these very efficient homes. They're not putting fossil fuel heating or appliances into them. You have an opportunity as you formulate this new project, this new structure, to require things of builders. I'm not talking about changing building codes. I know that's illegal, that's part of the state, but you do have control over how you spend your money. Asheville's doing it, right? And there are lots of great ideas out there. I hope you'll take that into consideration for the sake of long-term affordability for residents, and also because you have a shining example right here in front of you in Habitat for Humanity. They're doing a great job on a shoestring budget. Let's see how they do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. I would like, we've now closed the public comment, but I'd like to recognize Councilmember Burke for comments.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Normally, we don't respond to public comments, but tonight I've asked for the opportunity to do so. And I would like to respond to the neighbors who came out from Northwood Estates because that is a community that I love and that I represent. In the spring, I held a press conference, and during that press conference, I made the community members that came out aware that I had been in conversation with our state representatives to ask for money to address the soil erosion issue that was caused by the removal of trees spanning over 200 acres, and those trees were removed by the county. Since then, I've been waiting patiently for some assistance for Northwood Estates to address this issue. Last week, I was in conversation with these representatives, and I let them know of my concerns and disappointment. Since then, we are moving forward with the restoration plan, and I'm going to ask our Assistant City Manager, Aaron King, to give us an update on this restoration plan. Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. I'll be very brief. Councilmember Burke is right. As many folks probably saw in the paper, the county, Forsyth County, was awarded a grant. I think they had a $80,000 local match, $320,000 of money to go with that to use towards the restoration of Brushy Fork Creek. As of 2 Fridays ago, they are moving forward with that project. They are in the process of securing somebody to design the restoration efforts and getting them under contract. So that's underway, and hopefully by now they're getting closer to having that done. Essentially, the extent of the project they're considering would start on the northern end around the edge of Whitfield Court and extend about 2,100 linear feet down to kind of where Airport Road comes into the airport property. That's essentially the extent of the project they are working on and their designer will be looking at. I will certainly pass along the sentiments of the residents who are here tonight that wish to be involved in the process. As everyone here knows, the county commissioner meetings are at 2 o'clock on Thursdays, and should residents wish to express those concerns directly to their elected officials there, they're certainly able to do that also, but I'll certainly relay those concerns.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Burke. Ladies and gentlemen, the council has a need to go into closed session, and I'm going to recognize Councilmember Clark.
Thank you, ma'am. I move that the Winston-Salem City Council go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5 to provide instructions to staff regarding the acquisition of properties located at 945 North Cleveland Avenue and 412 Laurel Wall Boulevard for economic and community development purposes.
Second.
May I have it's been moved and properly seconded, and be prepared to vote.
Do voice vote.
Voice vote. All those aye.
Everybody cut them off.
out here to get the motion.
Come out here.
May we have a motion to end closed
So
session?
moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember McIntosh, seconded by Councilmember Taylor. All those in favor go raise aye.
Aye.
May we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you.
Lovely.